Hello, I'm 𝗃𝗓𝗓, and welcome to Serious Business Today. Today, I am joined by 𝗃𝗓𝗓𝗧, owner of 911 Restoration. I have to say, I normally would do a bio or an intro and give a little bit of background, but there is absolutely no way that I can do it justice. Not looking to go back to you were born and then something happened, but certainly you've got quite a journey in being an entrepreneur and a business owner. And I think that is so critical to some of the discussion we're going to have today. I'd love for you to just share. First, thank you for joining us. I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you for having me. And I'm excited that we're having this talk today. But yeah, as you hear my accent, I'm originally from Israel. As soon as I finished the service in the Israeli army, I knew I'm not going to go to university or college. It wasn't even part of the discussion. I worked as a bellboy for about a month and a half, saved about $1,000, and the American dream, right? We heard that every house come with a pool, we can get cars and everything that we want here in America. We landed here, me and really good friend, we served in the Israel together, that become my business partner. So we came here really without speaking the language, not really knowing the culture. We just knew, let's go to America. And this is kind of how our journey here began. Then we rented a one-bedroom apartment with the 3 other guys, and we got into the carpet cleaning. Through the carpet cleaning, it was an amazing experience. We learned a lot about the culture and what's going on here and how to get from point A to point B and on and on. Through the carpet cleaning, we learned about the water damage industry. Now, we didn't know anything about it. The way we learned about the industry quickly was, we got a call for a flooded house. Our average carpet cleaning job was about $250 to $300. We get to a house completely flooded and we charge $600 to extract the water. For us, it was the best day ever, right? So as we extracting the water and everything, we're seeing that the homeowner go through it like it's completely an emotional chaos. And at the same time as we are almost done with extracting the water, there's another company comes in and they're carrying blowers and dehumidifiers and all that equipment and pulling the carpet and tearing the walls. And we're standing there like, what's going on here? We didn't even know about this industry. So we start asking questions, of course, curious, right? What are they doing? Who are they working with? What is this piece of equipment, and on and on. So there's 2 big things that came to our mind then. One is, this can be a huge opportunity. And the second part is, why they're not paying attention to the homeowner. He's going through an emotional disaster, and the only thing that they care about is creating this mess with equipment and everything, and how fast they can build the insurance company. So that was my first experience into the water damage industry. And then we saw a few more over time. And that was the point that we decided, okay, there's a huge opportunity in that industry, but the opportunity lies within creating a better relationship with homeowners, because we recognize that nobody paying attention to the emotional disaster. So this was for us like, okay, we recognize an opportunity. So we decided that we're going to go into that industry. And at that point, we saved every dollar. We started buying equipment. When everybody went out to bars and restaurants, we just kept every dollar to buy more equipment. At one point, to upgrade from the Volvo 1978 2 doors broken car that we had into a van, right? And at one point, we decided to start our own business. And this was around 2003, 2004. And we averaged about $250,000 to $300,000 a year, doing carpet cleaning, but kind of moving into the water, mold, and fire business. Then one night, I'm sitting at the restaurants and I'm hearing somebody talks about Google AdWords. And I'm like, Google, internet, what is it? So I'm listening to them, and then they're saying about there's a way to advertise and people can click on your ads, and this is how people can get to find me as a company. I went back home that night. I spent 4 or 5 hours trying to figure out how can I advertise on Google. Once we put an ad up every day, now this was when internet was brand new, especially to the home service industry. As we put our ads up, every day we generate a phone call. And at that point I said, okay, I just need to spend as much time as I can, just figure out how this internet thing works. What is a website? What is a landing page? How we can put a campaign on, and on and on. Fast forward to that part, once we figure it out, is we grew the company from 250, 300 to about $3 million in revenue in about a year and a half. Now, I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know anything about scaling. I didn't know anything about hiring, none of it. So it was a crazy experience. So this is really how we scaled the company. There was a lot of headache, but a lot of fun and craziness that happened during that year and a half to 2 years.
Yes. And I love that you are like so many business owners out there and entrepreneurs of, I figured out that I was good at doing something, or I figured out how to get good at it. I was a practitioner in it, and I took care of the customer. And lo and behold, I ended up building a business. Yeah. But I knew absolutely nothing about building a business. There's a lot more to, I send an invoice and they send me a check.
So much more. So much more. And I see it today, every day. I mean, the same thing that I experience, even with my own franchisee. They're growing their business from $500,000 to $1 million or to 1.5. And they're growing out of, as you're saying, sending an invoice and getting paid. Now I have a team. And if they're not understanding how to go from one point to another point, what they usually will experience is, I grew the business from $500,000 to 1.5 and I'm making less money. And it just doesn't worth it. Because I'm working harder and nothing is working for me, so why would I grow the business, right? And at this point, like, you need different skills, different point of views when you're looking at the business. Yeah.
So as you went through, and we know each other well, and I will say just one plug from someone who recently did have a flood, that was my first phone call, was just the other 911. And I couldn't believe that compared to everyone else that I had talked to, had been working through, I felt like I was talking to a therapist, not someone who was going to come in and clean up and do the demo and help rebuild it. So you've been able, what really impresses me is that through, you talked about each stage of the growth that I want to get to, you've been able to keep that core and that legacy that you started the company on. And that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. Look, it's easier for me to talk about it now, but even in the beginning, I was, just because of the way I grew up, lack of money, a lot of failures, money was a huge motivator for me, right? I believe that if I make enough money, I'll make everybody in my family happy. Discovering that there's no relationship between money and happiness, there's something else. But even going through and understanding my own experience of, yes, we're going through a hard time, right? There is an emotional disaster situation that we're going through. And every time that I interact with the homeowners and I really start paying more attention to what is it that they're going through, it was, at one point, it was so clear to me, it's like the house is secondary. I have a human being that's standing in front of me and he's suffering right now. I cannot just ignore it and just pay attention to the house, because what we really do as a business is adding value, right? Solving problem. And when I'm meeting with the business owner or homeowner, whoever it is, the first thing that I'm looking at is, what's the person in front of me is experiencing right now and how can I help him? And that's really what business is all about.
And you've been able to do that as you've grown the business. As you mentioned, that's tough because you get to certain tipping points, which is the big cash mystery that we all go through. Wait a minute, I'm doing more business, but I'm making less money. What's going on? Through that, you've gone through a lot of growth stages in your business, and you've now got two customers. You have that customer who is the homeowner and your franchisees.
Right.
To learn how to grow their businesses, and through each of those stages, and you've gone through it from a business level and a personal level. And I'd love to, I'm going to dive in a little bit more, if you're open to sharing some of those really tough growth stages where you realized, I need different skill sets.
Yeah, so my first big moment was waking up to, I'll call it today, the noise in my head, right? It doesn't matter what I did. If I work 80 hours a week, 100, like worked all the day or work less, I found out that I'm keep getting to the same point again and again. That there's something in this reality that keep holding me in a certain point. This point is when I start looking inward and I say, what's going on here? Like, what's operating here? And then when I start looking inwards, I start seeing that I'm holding a lot of patterns. I don't deserve it. It's not going to happen. I don't believe in myself. I don't believe it can be done. So I can want think all day long, but if inside I'm not aligned and I'm not aware of my limitation, I call it the emotional DNA today. It doesn't matter how hard I'm going to push. I'm not going to get anywhere, right? Because there is the inner work that I need to do. And that showed me that every moment carry unlimited amount of potential. Now, thinking about that, when I'm looking at my customer, that when they're going through suffering, every moment carry unlimited amount of potential, that means that I have an opportunity to help them see the positive in it. And when I'm looking at my franchisees, when they join the company, I says, okay, you guys been trying to build a business, you've been successful or you haven't been successful, but you're going through this journey now, just reminding you that every moment, even if you're going through the hardest day as a business owner, you still have the opportunity to look at things in a different way. And this is how we came up with the idea of the fresh start. The fresh start represents that every moment carry unlimited amount of potential. And now building that as a culture of the company, I'm addressing now my customer that's going through a flood, my insurance adjuster that need to fight with claims and stuff like that, my franchisee and my employees, my team. So now through one sentence, we were able to address all the, I'll call it the human needs of everybody in the company. And now it's easy when you have 5 franchisees or 10 franchisees because you can talk to them every day and implement this culture or idea of thinking. When you go into 100 plus franchisees and we're growing, now we have more than 1,000 people in our system, how do we keep that culture? Right? It's very, very hard. So, and it cannot be abstract to everybody, right? I cannot have this abstraction conversation with people that are in the field. So that was another moment of how do we scale this abstract idea? How can we bring it into the field that even putting it on their t-shirt, putting it on their business card, doing things as a company that help our team or everybody else, not only to do better at their job, to do better in their life, right? So talk to them about things that will add value when they go back, when they spend times with their wife or kids at home. So how can I bring all that together? And as we talked about different skills at different stages, at one point, I'm finding myself that this is almost the only thing that I talk about. So I became the kind of the vision, the culture person that just keep hammering it in and trying to find more interaction point with customers, with team, with franchisee, that we can bring that fresh start idea to life. Because it has to be felt. That's another big thing that I realized at one point.
I would hope so. That, you know, we call that your why. And you're mentioning that's that vision, that culture. I love that you hit on that because that as an owner, as a CEO, that's really your role then. It's not running the company. It's to be creating, you know, that symbol. The fresh start is that symbol that you're holding up and saying, when you think of this, it's making up for hours upon hours of me trying to teach you how to make your decisions, what to do, how to interact with the customer. So you've got that clarity of why do we exist? Why are we in business? You've got that culture. Looking at the skill sets of how you got there, because then that means that you've got people to run the day-to-day business. You've got and it's not always an easy path. I know, I've known you for a while, but it's not always a straight path there. There's some stops and starts and zigs and zags. And that means that you had to break some of the patterns.
That's
one recently said to me, the easiest thing to do is to be doing the wrong things that we're already doing because it doesn't involve change. Even if we know they're the things we shouldn't be doing, it's easier to do them. Rather than changing them. I'd love to share how you're able to see those patterns, see past them, and get through to how you're able to be that visionary and that culture ambassador.
So when I had this moment of seeing that there's something else playing here, right? And I start looking inward. My next step was I start experiencing as whatever I'm experiencing every day in my reality is a result of my inner experience, my inner existence in a way. So if I have confusions about loyalty or who is the right people on the team, or do I need to keep that person even though he's not the right person for the company anymore? And you know, we all go through this stuff. We all have somebody that's been with us for 9-10 years and everybody knows that he shouldn't be there anymore, but you feel uncomfortable to tell him that it is time to go. The person that's been with you for 8-10 years, he probably knows that he shouldn't be there anymore, but he feels uncomfortable to tell you that he shouldn't be there anymore. And now you have two unhappy people working together with a confused idea of loyalty, and then the company cannot scale forward. I see it every day. I experience it myself, right? Even when, you know, made changes with my ex-partner in the business, or different, you know, a different CEO that I had in the business. And what I realize that it's just internal confusion, right? We're just mixing everything off. There is this idea of loyalty, of if somebody's been with the company for so many years, that means that he needs to be with the company forever. Why? Even me, I moved away from the CEO position about 7-8 months ago. Not because I didn't want to be the CEO of the company. I thought that the company got to a certain size that I don't think it's in my skills anymore to still be the CEO. I will do great as the founder. I can support them. I can help with strategy, vision, and on, but I don't think it's my place to be the CEO of the company anymore. Now, it was a very easy decision for me to make after I went through everything that I went through. Right?
Yeah, so we're gonna get there, because when we work with a lot of founders, CEOs, and they say that's two of the toughest things is separating that loyalty and friends and family from, and what's right for that relationship versus what's right for the business and your relationship with the business. And then there's but I founded the business. This is how I've done it. I'm the CEO. I'm the one everyone comes to. I'm the one that's solving the problems. And separating from that, while still retaining that legacy, you say, well, that's the easiest decision. How in the world did you make that the easiest decision?
Okay, so your self-confidence, once my self-confidence wasn't based on my title, it was based on my ability to evolve as a person. I'm not as attached to titles. So it's easy for me to see it with more clarity. So it's not about me, and it's not about you, it's about the company. It's about this organization that have its own existence right now. And I'm not putting me first. This organization now supports 1,000 people. If I'm keeping somebody in the organization that stopped the growth of the organization or the health of the organization because of this confused idea of loyalty, I'm not being loyal to all the people that are really good for the company, right? So I'm stopping everybody else's growth because I have an uncomfortable feeling about telling somebody that it's time to end the relationship. That's unfair to anybody. Right? So the confusion comes when you're not thinking about the organization, the people that really put efforts into it, the people that want to grow within the company, the impact of the organization. You're not thinking about it. What you're thinking about is, I'm feeling so uncomfortable because I need to tell him no, and he's been with the company for 8 years. How I'm going to tell him no? It's come from a very limited mindset that I'm very busy right now with this confused idea of loyalty, and I'm not thinking about the bigger picture. So bringing this being more objective, right? And being more objective comes from a place of letting go of some attachments, some ideas. I'm great because I'm the CEO. I'm great because I'm the founder. No, you're great because you are a person. That's it. We don't need to add anything on top of it for you to be an amazing human being. We're just confusing it with titles. We were just confusing it with ownership, right? So creating that space brings so much clarity into everything that you do. It's become so much easier. And I really give all the credit to inner work. Because inner work, you see that when people, and I work with business owners all day, with franchisees and everything, and so many times the answer is right here. Seriously, right here. But we're doing this crazy side to side, up and down, because there is so much noise in our head, so many limited beliefs, so many confused ideas that we don't even see the reality in front of us. So I think, yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry about that. I want to get into, before you move on to the next, you talk about that clarity, and this is your story and your journey, and you did that inner work for you.
Yeah.
And that gave you the clarity. What advice would you give other entrepreneurs and business owners to figure out what's their clarity? They need to get to, we all need to get to what needs to be clear to us, because the answer might be different than the answer you came to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the easiest way to look at it is if somebody is experiencing repeating issues in his life, right? So the same issue again and again, the same team member that keeps screwing up and is keep having the meeting and is not getting anywhere, and it's happening for so long, you need to understand you don't have clarity here. That's why the problem is keep repeating itself, right? So take it to anything, take it to your business, to your love life, to your family. If there's the same issues that keep repeating, know that there is something that you're not seeing here. And instead of saying, you know, it's his fault, it's their fault, they need to learn, not me, start taking accountability for it. And saying, you know what, the reason that these things keep repeating itself in my life is because there is something that keep creating that I'm not happy with. I'm just not seeing it. So then the focus go from outside, whose fault it is, to there's something in me. And just that moment of ownership and getting this, let me look inside for a second, let me try to figure out what is the confusing feelings that I have around this thing, and just go there for a second. It's not that complicated. This thing, now that you give it attention and you're not running away from it by blaming everybody, will open up, and you're going to start seeing like, oh wow, I'm thinking about it completely from a limited point of view. I can think about it this way. I can think of, okay, I'll add in another practice that I added to my life. Whenever I had a situation, as I described, and I had one solution, I forced myself to think about 4 or 5 other solutions. Now, sometimes these 4 or 5 other solutions are insane, but what we do, we train our mind to open up, and instead of just having one way of doing things, your mind as a practice will start coming up with more ways of doing things. So it's just a practice to open up your awareness.
I can see that, because when we are in those patterns and we're letting things happen, the same thing happen over and over again, it's easy to also get stuck in that pattern of, and there's only one solution to this. Yeah. There's only one way that I'm frustrated that someone that I brought on board, that I mentored, isn't acting, doing, producing the skills that I want or need.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to let them go, versus why did you hire them? Is there another place in the company?
Yeah.
Vendors, is there a place in a vendor? Is there a place at one of my friends' company? Think of them versus ourselves as well, and what would be good for them and right for them. And I love that there's other options there to solve this pattern. And you talk about the frustration of, and how you've gotten there. I remember you saying, I was frustrated, and every time I was frustrated about something, I started making a note of what was frustrating me, and I saw patterns in that.
Yeah. It's not drowning in this frustration, right? So I'm looking at this. Frustration is a certain energy that we feel, right? Oh, it's not happening. Oh, it's not going on. What's going on? So instead of using this energy in a negative way, I'm thinking, okay, how can I take this energy and now use it look at it in different ways? I mean, another thing as you know, I love to work with advisors, right? I think to bring people from outside that don't have your own stories in a way about something, brand new perspective, can be right or wrong, can be good or not good, but bringing people with different perspective into the company that are not as tied into your own story will also be a great part of opening that here is more options. I remember one of the time as we start growing the company, we weren't even that big, and I brought one of the advisors and he told me, Dan, you don't have job descriptions? And I'm like, what do you mean job descriptions now? I need to grow the company. I don't have time for job descriptions. And he's like, no, listen, let's put job description in. And I thought about job description in a very simple thing. I write a few sentences on the paper and I give it to, and that's it, that's job description. He opened a whole new world of what job description is all about and how you can add metrics in and how you connect everybody to the success of the company, right? So I add my own belief, my own story, that this is how you have to build a company. You need to go. And then I brought somebody from outside and he was like, no, you need to stop. You're not going to be able to scale the company this way, right? I think that's another big thing. When you are the business owner and the company is doing overall well, everybody in the company will be your biggest cheerleader. So everything that you're saying as a CEO is gold. Wow, look at our CEO and what did they say? Okay, that's nice, it feels good, right? But I always make sure I have people around me that have the courage and the ability to tell me that I'm wrong. So it was nice to have somebody tell me, hey, Dan, great, well done, we built this company, but I also made sure that I have at least 2-3 other people with different level of experience tell me, no, Dan, you are wrong. We love you, but you are completely wrong here. I was looking for it, because I was aware how easy it is to get lost in our own stories. So I wanted people to pull me out of my own story as well, because I know how limited we can get, right? So that part of understanding the inner world, and I understand that, wow, we can get so lost in our own nonsense.
Our own patterns, that story, that messaging that we created. And that's a tough thing to do because we tend to want to hire people who think like us.
Yeah,
act like us, because that's what we're drawn to in our lives, not individuals who are going to be contrarian or have different viewpoints, because as you mentioned, that it can create conflict. But in this case, as you're creating and scripting it, it's healthy conflict.
Yeah, it's
positive conflict that's going to move you and the company forward.
Yeah. There's one thing that I'm telling my team all day. Change will happen. Change is happening every second, right? Everything around you change all the time. When you look at nature, when you look at the world around you, I mean, especially in the past few years, and I'm looking at the next 10 years, the change is going to be insane. So having the same way of looking at things, when everything around you change, it just doesn't, I mean, it's not how the world works. Right? It's like everything around you go through a beautiful evolution and you're saying, no, I'm going to hold this belief system and I'm not going to let it go. But it's not aligned with anything. Let go. There's nothing to really hold to. It's just an idea. It's because our self-confidence based on our position, how people talk to us, our people giving us attention. It's not as real as we think it is. The beautiful thing, the more fun thing is when your business evolves. Yeah, you made mistake, it's okay, keep evolving, keep going. You building an amazing team. You have great relationship with the people that work with you. You have real relationship and you have transparency with the people that with you. Yeah, that can be a hard thing to do, because sometimes you can speak with somebody who says, listen, I love you, you are an amazing person, but I think it's time to part ways. Right? And you need some courage to do it. And it's uncomfortable feeling. I remember the first time that I need to let somebody go. I was sitting there sweating, don't want to have this conversation. I feel so uncomfortable to do it. But I think it's something that we also owe to our team.
And help them be successful.
Yeah.
Our end goal is, how do we help everyone be successful? And not always successful in this role or this situation or in this company.
Yeah.
In going back at what you've shared, kind of looking at the patterns and the frustrations that are coming from them, making note of those and looking inside, what part of that do we own? Are we training those patterns to be patterns?
Yeah.
And there's not just one solution, there's possibly 4 solutions. And what are some ways to think of those 4 solutions? Surrounding yourself with people who are going to question your decisions, advise, look at other possibilities and outside of you, your company, and our little world that we create.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed every time I learn something new about your background and how you got there every time we talk. I always enjoy our conversations, and I appreciate your authenticity and sharing with our audience and that journey you've taken, because as a business owner and having gone through so many of those same struggles, I feel that in the same way that so many other business owners feel that as well, and what you've been through and where you're at. I love it, that vision, that culture champion. So I appreciate your time, Adon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for listening and joining Serious Business today, and we will see you next time.
Yes.